Hey guys, welcome back to the back-to-back episode 2 and 3. I had these videos already in the works, and today is the day that I want to actually record them. It's the best time. So this is episode 3, and it's anger, cause or effect. So far we've discussed my version of the holographic electrical creator reality. You know, that's the whole flat earth versus globe versus you create what you believe sort of thing. So how I see spirituality as a tool for awareness, and that it shouldn't be impossible to think that our collective governments can be used for the betterment of mankind, but it also shouldn't be impossible to think the opposite. All of this, of course, is only in the physical realm. So what else could create effects on or in the physical? Thoughts and emotions, both directly and indirectly. My schooling has taught me to watch my thoughts because they become my words. I should watch my words because they become my actions. I should watch my actions because they become my habits become my character. It's a very logical progression of emotion. That's E emotion, that's energy, emotion, energy. What I bring to the table today is that emotions, and more so our thoughts, have a direct impact on ourselves and our environments, even when lacking direct physical action. Any thought or emotion can do this. So let me begin with a common and relatable emotion: anger. Everyone can remember a time when they felt anger symptoms. These range from tingling to heart palpitations, tightening of the chest, increased heart rate and blood pressure, sinus pressure and headaches, clenching jaws, grinding teeth, stomach aches, feeling hot in the neck or face, shaking or trembling, dizziness. You might also find yourself rubbing your head, cupping your fist, getting sarcastic, losing a sense of humor, acting in an abusive manner, acting in an abrasive manner, craving a drink or smoke or other relaxing substances, raising your voice, yelling, screaming, crying, name-calling, criticizing, belittling, having a lack of patience, being irritable, having a short temper, blaming everyone for everything, shutting down or withdrawing. People avoid you. Your friends and family are afraid to talk to you. People feel like they're walking on eggshells around you. You feel like you need to escape the situation. You might feel yourself feeling sad or depressed, guilty, resentful, anxious, striking out verbally and physically. Clearly, these symptoms happen for a variety of other reasons besides being mad.
You can pick up the whole thing now. You don't get to watch TV.
I want to watch TV!
No.
I want to watch TV!
Gosh, stop.
I want to watch TV! I want to watch TV! I want to watch TV!
So let's take a closer look at what occurs physiologically within our bodies when one is angry, to create outcomes from mild irritability to uncontrollable rage. The first portion of the first organ affected by anger is the amygdala. The amygdala are neural groupings in the medial temporal lobe. The amygdala is responsible for your fight, flight, freeze response, or survival. Other emotions that trigger this response include fear, excitement, and anxiety. Events that warn us of imminent danger are important stimuli for the amygdala, but so are events that signal the presence of food, sexual partners, rivals, or children in distress, etc. This being the case, the amygdala receives a quantity of sensory data and processes it into survival information rather quickly. The amygdala is also in part responsible for training associations for immediate reactions to perceived positive or negative events and reinforcing them. A good example of this would be a post-traumatic stress disorder, hearing the sound of something like a firework and being taken back to a past experience. Typically, sensory information is first interpreted by the thalamus and then sends that data to the respective cortex. But interestingly, part of the information that is originally sent to the thalamus is also directly sent to the amygdala. This info, albeit incomplete, is the reason for a non-threatening spook to provide the initial reaction as if it were a life-threatening event. The next domino in line is the adrenal, or the suprarenal glands, a big player of the sympathetic nervous system. These triangular-shaped glands sit on top of your kidneys and are made up of two distinct parts. The adrenal cortex is the outer part of the gland, produces hormones that are vital to life, such as cortisol, which helps regulate metabolism and helps your body respond to stress, and aldosterone, which helps control blood pressure. The adrenal medulla is the second part and is the inner part of the gland. It produces non-essential, that is, you don't need them to live, hormones such as adrenaline, which helps your body react to stress. These glands and the adrenal cortex work in conjunction with the hypothalamus and pituitary gland, your hormones, to communicate when to excrete corticosteroid hormones and small amounts of dopamine. Cortisol and adrenaline give you a burst of energy and added strength. While this is occurring, it can be difficult to experience clear, cognitive thought. This redirects blood flowing to the stomach and intestines to the muscles instead, in preparation to fight or flight. Your blood pressure, pain threshold, and temperature rise. Breathing and heart rate increase. The pupils begin to dilate. All the above happens each time anger or frustration gets tested. Anger not only affects the people around you, it also is directly linked to your cardiovascular health and mental well-being. Most people, including doctors, don't really appreciate the power of stress, your reactions to stress, and what they can do to your body. Most people trivialize stress, brush it off, or underestimate its potency. "I'm just a little stressed," they'll say, as if chronic stress equates to caffeinated edginess. It doesn't. It is responsible, in fact, for 75 to 90% of all visits to primary care physicians. While enduring chronic stressful situations, you may find yourself sucking it up and end up storing the stress internally. Additionally, your reaction to the stressor may include feelings of helplessness or futility, which might cause your stress hormones to continue to surge. Long-term chronic stress can wreck your nervous system through a cyclical adrenaline rush. It can cause oxidative damage to tissues in the body that leads to inflammation. It can cause symptoms such as headaches, achy neck, ulcers, allergies, and diminished sexual desires. Eventually, your body will adapt to a continued state of vigilance by producing an excess amount of cortisol. Too much stress, over time, can exhaust you. You burn out by accelerating the aging process, harming your immune system, and even shrink vital brain tissue, resulting in memory loss and problems with concentration. This scenario is the leading but often overlooked cause of insomnia and a major contributor to mental illnesses like depression, obsessive-compulsive, and anxiety disorders, as well as physical diseases ranging from the common cold, recurrent herpes, and obesity, to AIDS and cancer. What develops is a vicious cycle. Add in lack of exercise, sleep deprivation, abuse of stimulants, hostility, smoking, social isolation, an unhealthy diet, and things really go downhill. Acute stress is the leading cause of sudden death, especially in young healthy people with no evidence of coronary disease. Chronic stress causes heart disease. It is a clandestine cause, that is to say, a kind of a hidden cause, not fat or cholesterol, of heart attacks and arterial disease. It contributes to high blood pressure or hypertension, a risk factor for cardiovascular problems such as heart failure and sudden cardiac death and heart enlargement. Long-term depression significantly increases the risk of heart disease, among other effects. It actually triples the disease-producing effect of smoking. In cardiology, stress is a grim reaper that abruptly ends life by rupturing unstable plaque in vital vessels or by triggering a lethal disturbance in heart rhythm. When you get fired up emotionally, you're putting a torch in your arteries. Medical research has repeatedly documented the danger of anger, chronic stress, and the negative emotional states. Yet these factors are rarely addressed by doctors. Most physicians, in fact, have little training in recognizing stress or treating it, other than to prescribe a tranquilizer, antidepressant, sleeping pill, or perhaps all three. Such band-aid approaches can cause additional stress, and because of dependency and side effects that are treated with even more drugs that create still more side effects. Taken habitually, they all add a layer of toxic pharmaceutical stress to a strained body already. Medical science has accumulated indisputable evidence that stress reduction lowers blood pressure, relieves physiological strain on the heart, and may even save your life. Now, we are learning the impact of stress down at the DNA level. If you are an Angerholic, another issue you need to consider is the direct result of daily anger damaging the brain. Researchers have found that a continued supply of trigger and effect anger may confuse the hippocampus, the stress responder of the brain, and result in the inability to suppress your anger response altogether. Although everyone experiences anger in response to frustrating or abusive situations, most anger is generally short-lived. No one is born with a chronic anger problem. Rather, chronic anger and aggressive response styles are learned. There have been studies showing anger in the brain disrupts the growth of new neurons essential to sending messages and communicating with the rest of the body. So this video's purpose was to educate you on the effects of just one common, relatable emotion, and we quickly became more knowledgeable of more than just its symptoms and effects on our bodies and minds. We became aware of how stress in its many shapes and forms and sizes can and does affect every living organism on this earth. I'll wrap this up by asking a question. Will you continue to be at the mercy of your environments and signals, or will you step up to the plate and realize you do not have to be? We can, and in my humble opinion, should take every step to understand how and why we shouldn't let our thoughts and emotions take the best of us. We can use logic and knowledge to discern what is occurring within and without or around us, and better navigate life to create a more idealistic, healthy, and wholesome reality for all. So just real quick, the word of the day, or the reverse engineer of the show, or the episode, I decided to pick projection for the theme. I'll be getting into the subject of how our minds are actually projectors of our reality in collective consciousness. But I'll keep it simple for now, and let's describe the psychological process of projection. So basically what happens is when you have a bunch of like uncomfortable or embarrassing or annoying emotions that you don't want to deal with, it sort of gets oppressed to the subconscious. And then what happens there is your subconscious will then project your own perceived faults and flaws onto other people. So common things like that would be like, oh, he or she like hates me. Oh my God, they're so me body shaming them. If they can do it, I can do it too. That is so gross or bad or negative. Oh, get it away from me. I'm too good for that. He or she's like, oh, they're having an affair. They're going against me. So all these little subjects are basically the physical representation of how we feel inside. So projection is a tool that we can actually become aware of and use consciously rather than subconsciously to help lead our lives in the more idealistic reality. So this concludes episode 3 of A Fraction of Truth. Thank you.
What do you mean? Back? Back to what? Back to the beginning?
Willis, back to the beginning didn't mean go back to Colorado.
It means go back in time to when the virus first attacked Coco